Hello, everyone, and welcome to the continuing webinar series. Today, we are going to be talking about relationships and unhealthy relationships, and this is geared more towards grades 7 and 8. So we're just going to briefly introduce the facilitators that are here today. My name is Alicia Fisher. I'm with the Kawartha Sexual Assault Center as the Prevention Education Supervisor, and then we have Leanne.
Hi, I'm Leanne Reed. I work at Cornerstone Family Violence Prevention Center, and I'm the Child and Youth Community Counselor here at Cornerstone.
And Melissa.
Awesome. Good morning. I'm Melissa from Kwinda Anishinaabe Services Circle, and I am the Aboriginal Healthy Babies, Healthy Children worker. Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. Let's get started here. Cool. So today we're going to be talking about both healthy and unhealthy relationships, again, geared towards grade 7 and grade 8. So what we're going to be discussing today is we're going to be going over what each of our agencies do, what kind of supports we provide, what is a relationship, the good and the bad relationships, healthy and unhealthy relationships, how those make us feel, some signs, boundaries. We're going to be talking about peer pressure and the pressure to engage in relationships with other people and how sometimes that can make us feel uncomfortable. And then we're going to be talking about handling rejection. How do we deal with that when someone rejects a relationship with us, and then wrap up with some supports. So the Kawartha Sexual Assault Center, we are located in Peterborough. We support the Kawartha Lakes, Haliburton, and Northumberland. And we work with individuals who have been impacted by sexual and gender-based violence. We offer individual sessions, counseling sessions, and group sessions. And those group sessions can be anything from expressive arts and journaling to more psychoeducational programs about how trauma impacts the brain. Not only do we work with survivors, but we also work with their supporters. So that can be educators, that can be their family members, their friends, and provide supports for them. And those supports can look like accompaniment, advocacy, and even peer support. So if you are accessing court services, the hospital, counseling sessions, we can provide that accompaniment and join you. Or even if you're a teacher and you're looking for further supports, we have those accompaniment opportunities as well as peer support. So it's kind of like counseling, but talking more the peer-on-peer discussion. We also do our public education series just like this. We talk to elementary schools, high schools, colleges, universities, community members, athletic teams. We also have our mending program, Engaging Men in Ending Gender-Based Violence, and that is led by Lucas on the screen there. And then our 24/7 crisis support lines. Those numbers will be at the end of the webinar here, but we do have text, phone line, and web chat available through our website. Melissa.
All right. So like I said, I work for Kwinda Anishinaabe Services Circle. So we're a non-for-profit agency that's located on the other side of the Kawartha Sexual Assault Center. And we work with Indigenous women and their families who've been abused, at risk of being abused, or currently being abused. So we provide services through traditional healing methodology, as well as Western healing practices as well. And we have lots of different programs at Kwinda. So my program is Healthy Babies, Healthy Children. So I work with moms prenatal, postnatal, and their children up to 6 years of age. We've got transitional housing support, short-term and long-term counseling, as well as crisis counseling if anyone needs. We have a really great youth program, the Youth in Transition worker, Shannon, she's really great. And we provide lots of cultural competency training for workplaces and communities that may need that, for sure.
The Cornerstone Family Violence Prevention Center is an agency that is working towards breaking the cycle of family violence by providing immediate shelter, counseling, and prevention services throughout Northumberland County. So what we do, there's a residential portion to our agency, and in that there is a shelter that families can access who have experienced domestic violence and some crisis counseling. We operate a 24-hour support line. The numbers there is beside 905-372-0746. That is 24 hours, completely confidential. The beauty of that line is you are able to decide what information you want to give to the counselor that you're speaking to. So you're in charge of how much information you provide. Transitional and housing support. So anybody who has lost or is at risk of losing their housing, we do have support here to help you secure safe and affordable housing. In our resource center side, we have the resource center where anybody could walk through our doors. We offer counseling, both individual and group. We also do child and youth counseling, and we operate a child witness program, which is a family program looking at the impacts of domestic violence. We also run a variety of prevention programs in public schools and high schools.
Amazing. So let's get into this. What is a relationship? Now, if you happen to be watching the replay of this, maybe you can turn and talk to your students about what they think a relationship is. Who is involved? Where do relationships happen and why? Well, relationships are about how people connect to others and even the world around us, right? So that can be with our family, our siblings, that can be with our classmates, our friends, that could even be with our pets. It doesn't necessarily have to be human connections. It can be connections that we have with the animals and the pets in our lives. It could also be the connections that we have through social media, the connections we have on our phones. It could also be the relationships we have with our teammates, our coaches, relationships with spiritual leaders and spiritual guidance that we have in our lives, as well as our counselors, the relationships we have kind of on a more professional level, right, or workplace level. So our counselors, our therapists. It can even be the relationship we have with our earth and the things around there. I know Melissa runs a really great program that you just sit with a tree and you create this incredible bond and relationship with that tree. Melissa, did you want to talk about that?
Absolutely. So me and my coworker, we designed a program called Emotional Intelligence. And one of the activities that we did in the program was we did a therapeutic relationship with a tree. So where we were located still on Water Street at this time, but you can do it really anywhere. So you go and you pick a tree that calls out to you. So whatever that may look like, and you sit there with it for about like an hour, as many hours as you want really, but we were kind of on a bit of a time frame. So we did an hour and you just stayed connected to the tree at all times, whether it's your hand, your leg, your back, and you just sit there and you be mindful and you think about what the tree is saying to you and how connected you are with the tree, like your ethics, your morals, your family, your background is in your trunk, and the different things that happen to you throughout your life are the branches, and then like all the different chapters in your life. So it's a really, really great exercise just to be really mindful. And who doesn't love going out and sitting with nature? I know I do. So it was a really, really beautiful activity. We got a lot of really good feedback. It was really, really great.
And one thing about trees is that they transition, right? As we go through all the different seasons, trees change and trees sometimes shift and sometimes branches break off. And that's kind of like what relationships are too, right? We go through a lot of changes in our lives with our relationships. And sometimes the relationships we have with our family members may become a little bit less important, and we maybe focus more on our friends or the connections that we have to the sports that we're involved with. You know, our connection to our pets will always be number one, but you know, those connections can change over time. So it's important to recognize that. So now we're going to talk about unhealthy versus healthy relationships.
Okay, so unhealthy relationships. So while it's common to fight or bicker in most relationships, sometimes relationships can be toxic and leave a person feeling insecure or scared. So we're going to review some signs of an unhealthy relationship. So the first one is often the most obvious one, is physical abuse. So physical abuse is where a person pushes you, hits you, or destroys things. The next is control, is where a person tells you what to do. They might tell you what to wear or who to hang out with. They might constantly check up on you or use threats to make you do things. A threat of ending your friendship, a threat of harming themselves if you don't do something. Humiliation. This is a big one as well. This is where a person will call you names or put you down or make you feel bad or targeted in front of other people. Unpredictability is where this person might get angry really easily and you don't know what the trigger is or what exactly set them off. You might feel like you're walking on eggshells. And pressure. So this is where a person might push you to do things you don't want to do or are not ready for. This can include sex, using drugs, alcohol, pressure to not do homework, hang out with certain people, do certain things after school. They don't take no for an answer, and they can often use threats. Again, threatening to end the relationship. They might threaten to tell a secret maybe that you've told them that you don't want other people to know about you.
Mhm.
It's also important when we're talking about unhealthy relationships to identify the feelings attached to these unhealthy relationships. So when you're not feeling good in a relationship, when it's unhealthy, you might have some body sensations that you might want to pay attention to, and they can include like a gut feeling, like a heaviness in your tummy, butterflies in your tummy. You might like actually physically go into yourself. You might close off. Your body language might close off. You might get really anxious and not know what to say, or stutter with your words, or have a really fuzzy mind. And you might just have skin sensations. It's really important. One of the first things we do in is counseling is get people to pay attention to the things that your body is telling you. So just making sure that we do that. If we are feeling these things, we need to take a closer look on our relationship.
Mhm. And there could also be, I didn't mention this, but also romantic relationships. As we especially grow up and head into grade 7 and 8, those romantic relationships could also play a huge role and can be part of an unhealthy or healthy relationship. Sorry, Leanne, I just wanted to add that. I was listening. I'm like, I didn't talk about romantic ones. So
So on the flip side, we have healthy relationships. So in healthy relationships, people can feel safe, respected, and accepted for who they are. So some signs of being in a healthy relationship are being yourself. You feel comfortable around the person that you're with, comfortable with your friends, who you're dating. Honesty. So you feel comfortable talking about things in your relationship, and even talking about the hard stuff, the problems or concerns. You have good communication. So you discuss things that are important to you. You're setting boundaries within your relationship. You're asking each other what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what their boundaries might be, and you listen to each other. And respect, you respect and you support each other. You're able to listen to each other's concerns, even if you disagree with them. And it's important to treat yourself with respect, and make sure you're listening to those inner cues, and saying no to things that you're uncomfortable with.
mhm. Now, Melissa, did you have anything to add about healthy or unhealthy relationships? Sorry, or Leanne, did you have anything more you want to? Sorry.
Yep, there's another slide actually.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, there is. Sorry, Melissa, we'll get to you in a second.
So feeling safe. So if you're feeling threatened in any way, you're not in a healthy relationship. Feeling safe is both an emotional and physical aspect. It's important to know that in a healthy relationship, that person won't try to hurt your feelings or your body. Trust, so you're able to count on someone. It's about believing that someone will be honest with you and follow through on their promises. When you trust someone, you just know that they'll be able to support you and look out for you. You have each other's best interests at heart. Equality, this aspect of a relationship keeps it even and fair. So for example, being equal in a relationship means sharing the power. So not telling each other what to do or bossing each other around. It means a shared effort. So perhaps in a friendship or a dating relationship, if you text or call your partner or relative or friend often and they never call you, or they seem disinterested in keeping a connection, then that's not fair either. So equality is out of balance there. So support is about feeling cared for and respected. So in healthy relationships, again, people listen to each other. They help out with problems and show support by attending important events, listening, and just sitting beside you in moments of, in hard moments.
Mhm. Definitely.
All right, so we talk about feelings of being in an unhealthy relationship. So let's flip that around. The feelings associated with being in a healthy relationship is, I think you feel happy, you feel secure. Your body language might be different. You feel free to be who you are. You might have like open shoulders, no like gut wrenching feelings. You might have the ability to be silly or funny or try to make jokes. You just feel free and able to say and do things in a way that is truly you.
Mhm. Yeah. Melissa?
I think another really big thing too, in a healthy relationship is not to sacrifice yourself, sacrifice your morals and your beliefs, and to, with a healthy relationship, your partner should be very supportive of you. So, understanding what things you may like to do and you don't like to do, and, establishing those boundaries, so that it is a healthy relationship. And, especially in, going into high school, grade 7s and 8s, our friends tend to be, a big influence on our relationships as well. So kind of, acknowledging what that looks like between you and your partner, and, perhaps not letting other people, influence that if they aren't aware of the whole situation. So, kind of just being really in tune with not only yourself, but with your partner, and establishing those boundaries and, what that looks like overall.
Mhm. Definitely. Yeah, we'll talk about peer pressure in a bit. But we're just going to watch a quick video about healthy versus unhealthy relationships.
Oh, you won't believe the day I've had. It was so terrible. Casey, who's supposed to be my best friend, promised me that we'd go to the mall after school. Later, she texted me that she couldn't go, so I went with Nicole, my almost best friend, instead. But then, at the mall, just next to the food court, you won't believe who I saw. That's right, Casey. And she was with Nathan, her new boyfriend. Ugh, I hate her. I'm so lucky I have you. You're such a good listener. Now that you're in your teens, you may feel like you want to spend less time with your family and more time with your friends. During this time, some of your friendships may deepen while others might fade away. And some of your friendships may even become romantic. Being in a healthy relationship, whether a friendship or a romantic relationship, can be fun, but it can also be complicated. So here are some rules to follow to make sure your friendships are healthy. In a healthy relationship, each person supports and encourages the other. Real friends want to know what you're thinking and feeling, and they'll be interested in what you have to say. It's okay to have disagreements, even in a healthy relationship, but it's important to do so respectfully and talk openly about it with each other. Sometimes in a relationship, you'll need to compromise. But in a healthy relationship, the same person should not be the one who always compromises. It's important for both people to give and take. Finally, it's important to treat your relationships with care. And if a friend or romantic partner makes you feel small, teases you, or physically or sexually pushes you into doing things that you don't really want to do, then this might not be a healthy relationship for you. Remember, a healthy relationship, whether just a friendship or a romantic relationship, should make you feel good about yourself and who you are. After all, you are pretty great. Okay, so enough about me. How was your day?
So if you are with your students, you can maybe have a discussion about that video. What were certain scenes that stood out for you? What were some things that you liked? Leanne, was there anything that you wanted to add about this video? I feel like this video just really kind of encapsulates everything that you just said too.
It summarized it very well.
Yeah, Melissa, did you have anything to add to this video? No. Okay.
Oh, you won't believe.
Perfect. Go ahead, Leanne.
Okay, so sometimes we might not be sure exactly if the relationship we are in is healthy or not. So here are some questions that we can ask ourselves if we're just not sure. So do you feel good about yourself when you are around that person? So again, this is paying attention to our body sensations, our emotions, what we're telling ourselves. Are we feeling good? Are we able to be ourselves? Do their jokes upset or hurt you? Now, jokes are commonplace in relationships and friendships. However, if the joke is targeted at you and meant to hurt you, or you're being hurt by the joke, then that's not okay, especially if you've asserted a boundary telling someone that this is not something that I'm comfortable with you joking about. So do they treat you differently when around certain people? So are they only hanging out with you when you're by yourself? Or are they treating you similar in front of your classmates and at home and by yourself? Is it even? Are you only doing things that they want to do? So are they in control of deciding what you want to do? Is the equality scale out of balance? And do they control things? Not only deciding what to do, but maybe who you're friends with, who you speak to, where you go after school, anything, what you wear, your social media accounts. Are they in control of these things?
I think a really good point for this one too is, do their jokes upset or hurt you? I remember when I was younger in school, they would always say, you know, if a boy teases you, that means he likes you. And it's like, you know, it was like, I don't know, made to seem like it wasn't a big deal, but understanding, you know, kind of that they do hurt you, you know what I mean? And acknowledging, you know, when and telling the person when they've gone too far with something like that. I think it's really important.
Yeah, and the number one most important relationship in your life is a relationship with yourself. And so it's really important that we're with people that make us happy. You know, it's not only about respecting the other people in your life, it's about respecting yourself and your own boundaries. So peer pressure. Sometimes we feel a lot of pressure to engage in certain relationships that we may not be comfortable in. Those could be romantic relationships. They can be certain family relationships, maybe relationships with certain friends. I know, especially in grade 7 and 8, we're in a, you know, it's a small school. So there's only like a certain amount of grade 7 and 8 classes and only a certain amount of group of people that you can be friends with. And so sometimes there's a pressure to have to hang out with certain people because relationships and connections to other people can be really important in our lives. So how do we navigate peer pressure? So I guess, first of all, starting off, what is peer pressure? So peer pressure is when people within your social circle push you to do something or prevent you from doing something, even if that's not exactly what you wanted to do. And so this peer influence and that pressure can be both positive and negative, right? So if we're playing a sport, for example, and we have our peers cheering us on and telling us to, I don't know, pass the ball and to do better, like that can be a really great influence, right? But on the flip side of that, peer influence can be quite negative, especially if they're pushing you to do things that you don't want to do. And so coping with this type of pressure is really about finding a balance between being yourself and fitting in with the group. And where does that line cross when it starts to become uncomfortable? And so peer pressure is super tough to deal with, especially when, you know, we're with a group of friends. Let's say there's 4 friends and 3 out of 4 of those, or I guess 5, and 3 out of 5 of those people in that group are someone that you get along with. And so how do you navigate dealing with the 2 people in that group that maybe aren't so good with that group versus the 3 that you get along with? And so this can be really, really tough to navigate, especially when you're in a small class, right? Or maybe you have a small social circle that you're allowed to interact with because of COVID. And so seeing other people, and this is kind of shifting to social media, but seeing other people being happy with their friends and their family, or maybe even their romantic partners, can create some uncertain feelings within yourself, especially if you're not having a good relationship with your family, or you don't have good friends, or maybe you're with a partner that is not making you as happy as you see everyone else. So that can really make us feel maybe envious or jealous, maybe even uncomfortable. We can lead to being angry and frustrated. But it's really important to remember that you are important in your life, and that sometimes the things that we see on social media don't depict a whole picture. I know Leanne has a really good example about a family photo.
Social media, I think, dilutes our reality of what a relationship is, what a healthy relationship is. Often on social media, we see relationships, family relationships, partner relationships, both really happy, staged, beautiful photos. What we don't see is the the time before that, the 15 minutes leading up to that family photo where every member was not happy and arguing and bickering and just wanting this photo to be over with. But what we see is this beautiful family, the smiling, looks like they're having a great time at the end of it. So the point of saying this out loud is just keeping that in the back of your mind. So it's not, life isn't about the photos, it's about the experiences behind them. And I think that's what social media takes away.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Melissa, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Cool. So how do we navigate, how do we handle that peer pressure? And so some of these tips are pre-peer pressure and some of them are for during peer pressure experiences. So maybe we're only hanging out with friends that understand that it's okay, that we need to respect people and it's okay to not be ready to engage in certain things, right? So if people are pressuring us to be in a relationship, maybe it's important to find people who don't put that pressure on you, or that understand that it's okay if you're not ready to be in a relationship, or if you're not ready to engage in intimate connections or parties or certain substance usage, right? Go out with a group of friends rather than one person. Now that could be the opposite in some cases, right? So, we could be with that one person that does a lot of peer pressure, or there could be a group of people that gives off a lot of peer pressure. And so, if you're hanging out with one person that does that peer pressure, maybe hanging out with a group of people to kind of alleviate from that one person could be helpful. But then if there is a group that's exerting a lot of peer pressure on you, maybe only hanging out with one person from that group. So that could be you got to find that balancing act, right? Introduce your friends to your parents or invite them to your home. Okay, come on through. Yep, let's talk about boundaries. Let's go. Inviting your friends to your home, connecting them to your parents. So that way they kind of understand that, like, that this respect is, I'm so sorry. Speaking of respect being important, there we go. That, having those young people, having friends come to your house instead of hanging out at a mall could alleviate some of that peer pressure. Maybe when you're in a group, sticking up for those friends, if you see peer pressure happening, maybe you're sticking up and saying, hey, like, not cool, let's do this instead. So you can learn different bystander intervention strategies. And you can also think about what you're going to say in advance if someone tries to pressure you, right? What are some things that you can say if someone's pressuring you to be in a relationship, or someone's pressuring you to engage in a certain substance or hang out with people that you're not comfortable with? What are some things that you could say in advance to get away from that peer pressure? If you feel as if you need to hang out with a certain group of friends, especially if it's in like an area that you don't necessarily feel comfortable with, have those people that you can call that are going to help you get out of that situation, right? So maybe you're on the fence, not really sure if it's a safe situation or not, but you go just to see, maybe it is going to be a good time, maybe not. No, have those trusted adults, have those people that you can call to help you get out of that situation if you do need to leave. Never feel obligated to pay someone back. So we don't necessarily mean like financially pay someone back, but if you're not like an intimate relationship with someone and they go, okay, well, I bought you a gift for Valentine's Day, so now you have to kiss me in a certain area, right? Like that's not even, that's like coercion, right? That's threatening. And so that's not really signs of a healthy relationship. So you should never feel obligated to have to pay someone back. There's certainly a line of like thanking someone, but that line kind of comes when it's like, it's being inflicted on you to do something, right? To thank them in a certain way. And say no and mean no if that's really how you feel. And that comes down to a lot of practice and really reflecting on, how do you feel in those certain situations and how can you best support yourself? Anything from Leanne to add, or Melissa?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Here we go. So what about rejection? So what about if we are wanting to get into a relationship with someone and you ask, for example, and they say no? How can you navigate that? So rejection is hard, but unfortunately, it's something that does happen in life, right? So getting rejected can be hard. It can make you feel a whole lot of emotions, right? Sad, surprised, angry, and generally it just doesn't feel good. And so it can often feel quite personal. Like if someone doesn't want to hang out with us, for example, it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It could just be hanging out. That can feel quite personal. And it can lead to a lot of negative thoughts and feelings around that. And those can be emotional as well as physical, right? Like it can make our heart hurt if someone doesn't want to watch a certain Netflix show with us. But it's really, there's a couple different strategies that you can use to kind of navigate that rejection. And these are certainly conversations that can be extended beyond just what we're doing here. But taking time to cool off. So instead of immediately responding to someone, taking that time to navigate through that frustration or those negative thoughts and feelings, taking that time to, allow yourself to feel those emotions, but also to not respond in like an emotional way, so that you're able to say, okay, I'm really upset that you don't want to date me, but I also respect you and your ability to say no, right? So surround yourself with those supportive people, or maybe even take some time to be alone. And healing from that rejection can take time, right? It's not something that's going to be super immediate. So if that, if that rejection is really hurting you really deeply and emotionally, maybe it's time to reach out to other people for help. So, oh yes, it's on here. Okay, so maybe it's time to reach out to other people to help, like whether it's a teacher in your school, principals, counselors. Maybe it's looking into a religious leader or an Indigenous leader. Maybe talking to your friends or siblings. Now, the thing with talking to friends and siblings is that they can certainly be a great source of support, but when it comes to more serious things, it may be time to get a trusted adult involved. So there's also parents, caregivers. You could talk to doctors, nurses. There's also helplines, like kids help phone, talk to healing, and a variety of other lines of support, as well as these agencies that are here. Anything from Leanne or Melissa to add?
I think you had like lots of good points. Rejection is hard. It happens in life, but doesn't make it any easier. Okay, and human beings have this fantastic ability to compound our hurt, our negative emotions. So if we are feeling hurt, sad, surprised by rejection, we might have the additional negative thoughts of, I'm not cool, nobody wants me, I'm embarrassed, I'm never going to ask anybody again. It can really dig up lots of emotional stuff. So I'm glad you have strategies right next to this side, because I think it's really important. Like everyone's going to be rejected at some point in their life. So again, paying attention to our emotions, our body, and using those strategies to kind of help you get through that period of time.
We also talk about those in the mental health webinar as well. Melissa, was there anything that you wanted to add? Have you ever been rejected in your life?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's really good to do a lot of reflecting as well. Kind of just taking some time to reflect on the situation and, not internalize it, but kind of, understand, the whole scenario and what happened. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to add to that one.
So what did we learn? Well, we learned that our relationships and our connections to others are really important in our lives, right? Some of us go to school to see our friends. Of course, we go to school to learn, but seeing our friends, it can be really, really important, right? That can be really important for our mental health to see and hang out with our friends. And that those mean a lot to us. And relationships don't just have to be human beings, but could be relationships that we have to our pets. It could be the relationships we have to our phones, romantic partners, our family, and that those relationships change. Leanne, did you want to go into the next couple?
Yeah, absolutely. So relationships we have with people is how we move throughout this world. We're often not alone. We have to interact with other people in our lives. So it's important to pay attention to our feelings. It's important to listen to all of them, and to talk to someone if you're not feeling happy or safe.
Melissa, any final conclusion kind of thoughts on your end?
I would just have to say, just reaching out for support if you need it, right? Just acknowledging when things are a little bit too much and understanding that it's okay to ask for help. You know, everybody needs to ask for help every once in a while. So, you know, if you're really struggling, or even just struggling a bit, just reach out. The services are free. We're all here for you. So just give us a call and reach out.
Mm-hmm. And if there's a relationship in your life that is making you really uncomfortable, and you tell someone who you think is a trusted adult and they don't believe you, just know that if you are feeling uncomfortable, continue to reach out to maybe even other people who aren't involved in the situation. So we know that what we've seen is sometimes our family members, there can be unhealthy relationships there, right? And so maybe talking to another family member may not validate your feelings and how you're truly experiencing things. So just know that there are other resources out there. If you are an educator, we always would appreciate if you would fill out the survey that is attached to the email. Any and all feedback is always appreciated. As a final slide here, the Kawartha Sexual Assault Center, we do have 3 lines of 24/7 crisis support, whether that's through talking over the phone, text, or online via our website, kawarthasexualassaultcenter.com. There you can get connected to all of our social medias, services, and supports. Leanne?
At Cornerstone, we also have a 24/7 support line. That's the bottom number there, 905-372-0746, as well as a confidential web chat, text to web chat program that anybody can access. Again, you can decide on how much information you give in terms of identifying information, and that service is available 12 to 8 every day of the week.
And Melissa?
Awesome. So like I was saying, we have Shannon, who's a really, really wicked youth worker. So she runs this awesome youth group online via Zoom. So she's doing like an introduction to traditional teachings, like self-care teachings, therapeutic arts. I'm going to do some beaters and some shakers. So our number is on there, excuse me, 705-741-0900. If you feel like you'd like to reach out. We also have texting numbers as well. So if you just give us a call at that number at the office, we'll be able to give you our texting numbers if it's a little bit easier for you. So yeah, feel free to reach out. It's completely free, and it's a really, really great program.
Amazing. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in today. And thank you to Leanne and Melissa for joining today. Great, thank you.